What's up, everybody? Welcome into Payoff Pitch. We are Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. The MLB postseason continues on Monday, October 16th. You have found us in the right place if you are listening on Monday morning, getting you set for game number 2 of the ALCS between the Texas Rangers and Houston Astros. That's coming up later this afternoon at 4:30. And game 1 of the NLCS in Philadelphia, the Diamondbacks and Phillies. They square off for game 1 in their best of 7. We are here Monday through Friday. Even if there's no game, we'll come on here and do futures outlook and ways you can buy series prices, etc., World Series prices in off days. The way the schedule's lined up is we're going to get a game pretty much every day. So that's good news for our podcast. So join us every day during the week. We appreciate the 5-star ratings and the reviews that you're leaving. We did promise at the end of last week, if you're new, we're going to do giveaways at the end of each week. And we do have a contest winner simply by leaving a 5-star rating and review. We have GZ2692. GZ2692. You have won a free 1-year subscription to Action Pro. All you have to do is email podcasts, PODCASTS, at actionnetwork.com to claim your prize. And we'll do it again at the end of this week and reveal a winner on Monday. So the review doesn't have to be positive. It could be whatever you'd like. So if you'd like to get involved, please listen to the podcast. And we appreciate the reviews and the 5-star ratings, however you consume Payoff Pitch. I've got Zerillo here, BJ Cunningham. Let's dive in. Zerillo, game 2, Texas-Houston. The Rangers heat are on the road. They've won 5 consecutive road playoff games. They blanked the Astros. Now they've got Eovaldi on the mound against Framber Valdez. How do you handicap this one with the Rangers at even money plus 100 and Houston rather is a slight favorite minus 120?
Yeah, always awkward to say the Texas and then Houston back to back.
I know.
It doesn't jive with the brain whatsoever. So Texas, in terms of the series game 2, no value on a side or total for me off the jump. I will talk about a couple player props I like. But Texas, I would make their series line about minus 170 before game 2. Market sitting around minus 180 to minus 190 on them, and about plus 155 on the Astros. So I don't expect to have a bet on the series. And in terms of the game 2 price, I made Houston about minus 112 and set the total around 8.2. So no value with regards to the side or total. Keep an eye on the roof. They closed it last night. It seemed to be a bit of a surprise. Their offense was anemic and they didn't score. Maybe they open it this afternoon to try to get their offense going. In terms of the career numbers against the Eovaldi, the Astros have absolutely owned him. And I wonder if that went into Texas's decision at all to start Montgomery over Eovaldi in game 1. Eovaldi would have been on full rest after the divisional round. He's been electric in the playoffs. He was much better in his 2 starts, or a little bit better in his 2 starts than Montgomery was in his 2 starts prior to last night. Montgomery got hit a little bit in his second start in Baltimore. But the one thing to note, as I said, is the splits or the career numbers that these Astros hitters have against the Eovaldi across 166 plate appearances, a 971 OPS, a 6.8% strikeout minus walk rate. He's about 13% for his career. Most of the damage has been from Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez. Jose Altuve has 5 of the 11 home runs that they have against them, has a 1078 OPS. Yordan is 8 for 11 with a couple of walks against the Eovaldi. So for player prop purposes, these are the guys I want to bet. Both of them excel against the fastball and slider that he's going to use. But it is the splitter that he can neutralize Yordan with, neutralize Tucker with. Altuve, too, also a negative run value against splitters. In terms of player props, though, Altuve over 1.5 total bases, given the slugging percentage he has against the Eovaldi throughout his career, getting a nice juicy plus 150, top of the fact that he's your leadoff hitter and going to get as many opportunities as possible to get on base. But beyond that, Yordan to walk again. I bet him to walk in game 1. The Rangers pitched around him. He just was not willing to accept a walk. They threw 16 out of the 20 pitches outside of the strike zone, only 4 pitches actually in the strike zone. He struck out swinging over a 3-2 curveball. He struck out swinging over a 3-2 curveball the last time we get him to bet him to get a walk crop too. So it seemed pretty evident to me the Rangers were not giving Yordan much in the zone. They were trying to jam him inside with fastballs and then looking to move the other way with breaking pitches. Eovaldi is going to try to get him to swing over that splitter, but I think the Rangers are going to continue to pitch around him, and I would hope he comes a little bit more patient on Monday afternoon. So Jordan to get a walk at plus 105, Altuve over 1.5 total bases at around plus 150. And then on the Texas side, Marcus Semien, great career numbers against Framber Valdez, but also excels against fastballs and curveballs generally, which is what he's going to be seeing from Valdez. That's his pitch mix against right-handed hitters. So Semien over 1.5 total bases, Altuve over 1.5 total bases, and then Jordan to get a walk, all at plus money. Those are my prop bets for Astros Rangers game 2. And as I said, just keep an eye on that roof to see if they open it, because that might swing me from no bet to betting on the over if they do open it.
Okay. And 6 of the players that were in the Houston lineup for yesterday's game have homered in their career against Nathan Eovaldi. Abreu, Altuve, Alvarez, Bregman, McCormick, Pena, Tucker. They all have had a home run against Nathan Eovaldi. So
McCormick really stood out too. He crushes fastballs, but he struggles against splitters, all the breaking pitches. So he could jump on a fastball for me, Eovaldi. He stood out initially as a guy to me, and wouldn't be surprised if he went yard tonight. But if Eovaldi goes secondary stuff heavily against McCormick, that's the way to neutralize him.
Okay. For a second, by the way, I was like, we talking to Zerillo, or are we talking to Charlie? It's player props. I love it though. The different twists here Zerillo's got on this game. And again, keep an eye on
as the markets or as the games get fewer and I have more time to not handicap 15 baseball games, and I see no value on the side of the total, I go, great. Now I have time to dig into all these player prop markets. So it just able to reallocate my time a little bit more during the playoffs. And come LCS time, once we get down to 2 games, I feel like I can actually dig in deeper to the pitching matchups and the hitter matchups and the Arsenal stats and stuff like that. And it is nice. It's a deeper way to handicap these games. And it actually feels like you know everything about every individual hitter and pitcher. And, you really feel like you have a good feel for the series.
BJ, what's going on? We've got a 1-0 series lead for Texas. They continue to roll on the road. Is Houston in a bounce back spot tonight at home?
Yeah, I am with Sean. I don't project any value on this game. I have the Astros at minus 117 and the total at 8.1. So really no value in the market. But I actually have a question for Sean Zerillo, because I'm puzzled with Nathan Eovaldi right now because of how bad he was down the stretch. And he seemingly has had a couple good starts. Where do you have him projected from an ERA standpoint? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
I'll pull it up quick. We got some hate apparently for talking about Stuff Plus, but I think Stuff Plus is a good indicator of where Eovaldi was pre and post injury in the first half before going on the IL. Eovaldi was at a 103 Stuff Plus. After coming back off the IL in August and September, he was at a 97 Stuff Plus, with 100 being league average. But then in the playoffs, his fastball velocity has gone back up. He was lost a tick in August, September. The 2 playoff starts, he's gotten back over 95 miles an hour. In fact, his wild card start was the hardest he's thrown all season, or in several months, I believe. It was Wheeler who threw the hardest he's thrown all season, wild card start. But in terms of an ERA projection, I put Eovaldi and Framber at about the same number, both around 4.1 in terms of an ERA projected number. So
okay.
Expected ERA for Eovaldi this year of 4, Framber 4.3. Model weighted ERA, Framber at 3.5 or 4.5, and Eovaldi closer to 5s, but that's factoring in that second half sample. So I basically have to leave out that second half sample, and I get them to the relatively same level. Gotcha. I didn't talk about it much with Framber, but his home run rate spiked this year. And, at this point, I don't know why we're not just handicapping who we think is going to hit more home runs in the game, because postseason teams are now 15-1. When they
you brought this up, you've been bringing this up since the beginning. So
15-1 this year in the postseason. I believe it was 23-6 last year in the postseason, and since 2018, it's at an 84% clip. So just figure out who's going to hit more home runs in the game, and you're going to do just fine in terms of your handicapping. But again, that roof being closed should knock down a few home runs and may change the way the series plays out. So I think the roof for both teams is so key, whether they're going to open it or close it at home. But yeah, BJ, I project Eovaldi, Framber at the same exact level right now. Is that where you have them?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was kind of getting at, is because of how bad Eovaldi was when he came back post injury, when beforehand he was actually very, very good pre-injury. So, and then he's come on and he's obviously been a very good postseason pitcher over his career. It's been kind of this weird dynamic of okay, where is he? How good actually is he? So I'm glad to hear him around there. But for me, Yeah, I don't really have a value on either side. If I were to do any player props, Mitch Garver, somebody I would target from the Rangers. He crushes left-handed pitching, 420 weighted on base average. He'll be hitting third in the lineup. And the one thing about Framber is when guys get on base, he tends to get a little flustered. His xFIP goes from 3 to 4 with guys in scoring position. So with him hitting third in the order with Seager and Simeon ahead of him, if those guys can just get on base and get Framber a little flustered, it'll give Garver a much, much better opportunity to get a hit or get, an extra base hit. His total bases right now is over 1.5. Best price you can find is plus 150, which I think is a decent price for the Rangers' best hitter against left-handed pitching. But yeah, I don't really have a play on a side or a total. If I were to target anybody from the Rangers, it would probably be Mitch Garver.
Framber Valdez, to Zerillo's point, last year, 1.3% home run rate up to 2.4 in 2023.
He allowed 19, I believe, this year, and he had never allowed more than an 11 in a season previously. So it really went up this year. The hard contact rate went up. The ground ball rate's down by about 10%. All of those things are correlated, but really just seeing the ground ball rate go lower, a home run rate spike. If these two are going to have home run rates that are closer to one another, it just helps Texas's chances. If he's back to his, half a home run per 9-inning rate, it just helps Houston. So yeah, the home run is such a key in the playoffs. It's becoming a joke, but it really is like the number one thing to look out for is home run rates on these pitchers.
Quickly, before we go to the NLCS, any value in Houston at plus 145, down 1-0 in the series? That's the series price.
I said I made it about minus 170 for Texas. So I would probably want like plus 185 or better to bet Houston. And if I was to look to bet Texas, I would want like minus 155 or better. So the number is on either side of where I projected this out, which leads me to believe unless there's substantial movement, there's no chance I'm entering from a series perspective. So saw value on Phillies and Diamondbacks. We'll get to that in a moment, but through 2 games, there's really been no disagreement between me and the market on Rangers and Astros.
Good. BJ, you staying away?
Yeah, the thing is like, where's the gigantic pitching or offensive matchup that the Astros have to, give them, this type of price? So I agree with Sean that price isn't good enough on the Astros to play them at this point. And I mean, even with Framber struggles, Christian Javier and Urquidy waiting behind them, it doesn't really give you much confidence in the Astros.
It's a very coin flippy series.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Every game
coin flippy series, and yeah, you need a better price to be able to play the Astros.
Okay, very good. I don't know if it's going to be coin flippy in the NLCS with the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Just after 8:00, they start at Citizens Bank Park. You can catch that one on TBS. The first game is on FS1. Okay, so it's Zach Wheeler on the mound for Philadelphia. The Diamondbacks go with Zach Gallen. So 2 Zachs on the mound, head-to-head. Totals at 7. Diamondbacks plus 140 on the money line. Phillies minus 165. I think most of you, Zerillo, most of Action Network jumped on the Phillies money line price as soon as it came out for series, game 1. So that number has changed quite a bit since you bet it. If you want to explain that trajectory to the audience, but I'm imagining you're still pretty high on Philadelphia here going into this series.
Yeah, we were here on Friday, which seems like a really long time ago at this point. But we talked about the Phillies and their futures and their pricing relative to the Diamondbacks. And this opened at basically minus 150 for the series, which was shockingly low. I projected it at minus 173. If you look around the market right now, you can find Philadelphia between minus 175 and as high as minus 190 to win this series. And instead of laying that at a negative EV price, I would bet the Phillies to win the World Series right now and jump ahead and lock in that price. Basically would be your series price against the winner of Houston and Texas, assuming that the Phillies advance. I would project the Phillies right now at about plus 200 to win the World Series. You can get as high as plus 215 to plus 220. So that's the bet, the futures bet that I would lock in right now. If you want to bet the Phillies straight up against the Diamondbacks in the NLCS, bet them minus 1.5 games on the series spread at about plus 125 down to plus 120. You get Wheeler and Nola 4 times in those 6 games, in the first 6 games of the series. You get an equal number of home and away games. And, this is how we bet Philadelphia in the playoffs essentially last season, I believe, against the Braves. We bet the minus 1.5 games, the big, juicy, plus money number, minus 1.5 in the NLCS too. So, it's just been the strategy we've taken with the Phillies in the playoffs and getting those 4 Wheeler and Nola starts, betting them to win in 6 games or fewer and take care of things. So if you're looking for a prop, looking for a plus EV way to bet the Phillies in this series specifically, Phillies -1.5 game spread is the way to go. In terms of the game 1 lines, it'd be very odd if I was on the Phillies for the series and not the Phillies in game 1, but I do like Zach Wheeler quite a bit. Given his form in the playoffs, as I mentioned last week, he now owns the record for the lowest whip in playoff history, which is extremely impressive. Minimum of 40 innings, but he has surpassed Mariano Rivera, who I wrote as Mariano Rivers. Thank you, autocorrect, in my article today. And Kenley Jansen. But Wheeler, we've seen the velocity go up in the playoffs for consecutive years now. And he was sitting around 95.8 during the regular season. Wild card start against the Marlins, 96.8. He's at 96.3 against Atlanta. So he bumps it up. Come playoff time, you see the strikeout numbers go up. Based on second half pitch modeling metrics alone, Wheeler was the best pitcher in baseball. He had a 112 pitching plus rating, best in baseball in the second half. The home run rates for these 2 starters, we talked about the home run rates in the Astros series. They're both comparable and both slightly below 1 per 9 innings. So both Gallen and Wheeler do limit the home run. Gallen's strikeout minus walk rate is pretty comparable to what Wheeler's done. And looking at the team versus team splits or the team versus team results, the Diamondbacks have better numbers against Wheeler than the Phillies have against Gallen. So all of those things concern me. If you're going to look for a player on the Diamondbacks to get a hit, it's Tommy Pham. Pham, really good numbers against fastballs and sliders. That's what he's going to see from Wheeler about 80% of the time. He's also 5 for 11 against Wheeler with 4 walks and 2 strikeouts. So he clearly sees the ball well against Wheeler. I like Tommy Pham to get on base tonight. I like Bryce Harper to get on base tonight via a walk. I think just given the form that Harper's in, where he sits in the lineup, the potential you get him walked either in a big spot or just pitched around, very similar to Yordan. But Harper to get a walk at -105, I think is interesting. But in terms of where I projected this game, I have the Phillies closer to about -180 for the first 5 innings, -165 for the full game. So if you get -165 for the first 5 and about -155 for the full game, that's where I would bet the Phillies too. I believe the full game number has come up, opened around -148, has come up to -160, actually opened -138. It was the series price that opens -148. But the first 5 line still within range, very near being out of range, but still in range right now. -165, the best price available. Wouldn't really pet it past that. And then the last note, 56 degrees. Whew, cold night in Philly. 7.2.
This is October baseball, baby.
Lean under.
Okay. Yeah, this is 80-degree weather we've had at even these Phillies games. I mean, we're going to have games in the desert. We have 2 games in Texas. Like, I want to feel the October fall classic weather through the TV. And we're going to get some of that, I think, as this Phillies series starts. So, BJ, I'll share, because I know no one cares but you, Inzerillo, I guess. I cashed out the Diamondbacks World Series.
Oh, no.
I know. I'm such a loser. I got out of it. I got 15 times the profit that I would have got if I just let it ride and they win the whole thing. So, now, if the Diamondbacks end up going on a run, you can come back and blame me. Just blame Brendan. Blame the host of Payoff Pitch, because I feel this game is just such a swing game. I think you guys have talked so highly about Wheeler all season, and Gallen has outperformed his advanced metrics. So I'm assuming, BJ, you're going to make me feel better, and you're going to talk about why the Phillies are the right play as well for the series and for this game tonight.
They are. I just think the price has gone up a little too much on the Phillies to be able to play them at this current juncture. I mean, we're talking -165, for full game and first 5, which I think is close to cutoff point. Or if you want to play the Phillies. So, if you want to play the Phillies, I'd just take the -1.5 at this point. But for me, I like Wheeler's pitching outs over 16.5. And I think it's a little low for Wheeler, to be honest. He started 34 games pre and post, or regular and postseason this year. He's gone 5 2/3 in 25 of those starts. Sean Alshimezi is one of the best pitchers over the second half of baseball. Overall for the season, led the National League in WAR, 4th best xERA, 7th best Stuff Plus. And the matchup here for Wheeler, I think, is really good because he is maybe the best pitcher in baseball against right-handed hitters. Only a 240 weighted on base average allowed to righties this season. The Diamondbacks were average at best against righties all season long. And honestly, we'll only be able to probably platoon 4 left-handed bats realistically against Wheeler. So that becomes a problem. Now, Wheeler does get slightly worse when he faces the third time or through the order, which is typical of most starting pitchers, 317 weighted on base average allowed, but he consistently is out there to face that third time through the order. Averages about 24.5 batters faced per start. So, and especially with this being a game 1 and with an off day after the game 2, the Phillies will not want to overextend their bullpen here right away in game 1. They're going to lean on Wheeler. They're going to lean on their best pitcher. And even if he runs into a little bit of trouble, I think Thompson's going to leave him out there, and he's going to actually give him a chance to get out of some of these situations. So the Diamondbacks has obviously been hitting the ball very, very well all postseason long. I don't know if that's going to continue. And like Sean mentioned, a 56-degree day. Both games they played against the Brewers in Milwaukee, I believe the roof was closed for both of those. And they obviously played in Arizona and Los Angeles. So this will be the first cold weather game that they've experienced in the postseason. Now, obviously, I'm assuming I haven't looked back at their regular season schedule, but I'm assuming they played in a little bit of cold weather in September. But yeah, I really like Wheeler here. I think he's definitely going 6 innings, at least going to get to the 6th inning. Ben, obviously got to the 7th in both of his postseason starts already. So Wheeler over 16.5 pitching outs. And there's one player prop I will mention going kind of off of Wheeler's really good against right-handed batters. The worst right-handed hitter that the Diamondbacks have against right-handed pitching is Evan Longoria. He's, well below average in terms of weighted on base average and weighted runs created plus. Postseason, he's 3 for 18. I think it's a good matchup for Wheeler. Under half a hit is -140, which is a little juicy for me. But I'm going to stare at that all day, and I might end up playing Evan Longoria under half a hit because it's just a terrible matchup for him. So, that's kind of where I'm looking here in this game.
Okay. For what it's worth, the Diamondbacks, I'm not going to go look at the temperature in all these games. They were in New York and they were in Chicago.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Before they played Houston to wrap up the regular season in September.
I'll plug Bet Labs here because I just was able to filter it down in like 3 seconds. The D-backs have played 13 games this year below 60 degrees. They were 6-7 in those games. So
okay.
Look at that.
One last thing I want to note with regards to the series, run prevention. JT Realmuto, I think, is the biggest key for the Phillies. And the Diamondbacks are probably going to need to get aggressive on the base pass, particularly against Wheeler. When Wheeler was a Met, he could not prevent stolen bases. They had d'Arnaud behind the plate who couldn't throw anybody out. They were terrible at holding runners as a team. You've seen the numbers for Syndergaard throughout his career. Syndergaard never really fixed that problem. Since Wheeler joined the Phillies, he's only allowed 13 steals on 23 attempts, and he's been with JT Realmuto the whole time. Realmuto since 2018 has double the amount of runs prevented via stolen bases as any other catcher. Gabriel Moreno's at 9, JT Realmuto's at 18. So you have the best catcher, or one of the best catchers, at preventing stolen bases, and a pitcher who's fixed his stolen base against problem. Considered betting Diamondbacks under steal props tonight, under 1.5 team steals, under 2.5 team steals. I'm not really sure where the number is, but that's something I'd like to look at, given how Realmuto is able to hold runners and prevent runners, cut them down. And then also anti-home run props as well on this game being 56 degrees, parlaying the Diamondbacks all not to homer. I don't know how to go about that, but I think with the home run rates, Fromber, Eovaldi, all 4 guys really going today above average home run rates. And by above average, I mean lower than the major league average. So might start looking at guys to not homer today, or as BJ said, to not do stuff, not get a hit. I think that might be an interesting approach too.
Comes full circle from talking about whoever has the most home runs is going to win these games. You got me going down a rabbit hole now trying to find this stolen base prop, but I'm not having.
I got it right here, and it's not great, Sean.
You guys are
Arizona total team stolen bases over a half.
Oh,
under is -150.
No,
over is even money. So great great hold on that market from this.
Yeah, I might bet
that
the
I'm currently
over. I
looking
mean,
at.
all they have to do is double steal and one guy gets thrown out. Well, I guess no, it doesn't count as a stolen base then, but yeah, it's I would not bet over under a half or under a half. I would bet over a half.
You were
disregard
hoping for
my
2.5.
analysis, but I do think JT Realmuto is the reason why that line is so low. He doesn't give him up, and since he's been working with Wheeler, they have not get him up together. So
Also, I'm just looking at it at this book. Total home runs by both teams in this game over 1.5 or over 1.5, but they got the over juice to -190 and under at +130. So again, great hold on this market.
4 solo shots in that clinching game for Braves Phillies, right?
Yeah. I also should mention that it's really chalky, but Bryce Harper's the best bat against right-handed pitching and fastballs, which Gallen's a 50% fastball pitcher. So if you want the squarest play on the board, it's probably Harper to homer and over total bases or whatever it is.
And Harper, the reason, I didn't bet Harper over total bases, when, you just mentioned the fastball number, he crushes the secondary stuff that Gallen throws. I wonder if it's related to when he first came back. He wasn't able to catch up with fastballs, but it seems like he hunts for breaking balls. He homered off the breaking ball against the Braves, I believe, in both at bats. So just the numbers, the season-long numbers for Harper against four-seamers were closer to average than I would have liked, where he crushes the secondary stuff. But yeah, if he got healthier in the second half, started hitting fastballs better, and that might be hidden in the numbers, it's very possible.
Can't parlay no home run to all the Diamondbacks. I did try to do that. I've tried it. You guys have been so good about giving me the weather details, the stolen base. That's good. And
if you want the weather, the wind, it's 6 mile an hour blowing in from left field in Philly tonight. So not much of a real factor there.
Also,
but I will say, Sean, if they do open the roof, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm assuming that if it's still called, Minute Maid Park, the wind will be blowing in around 12 to 11 miles per hour straight in from center field at Minute Maid Park, 67 degrees. So if they do decide to open it, now I'm not sure if that stadium's built up high enough where it won't really matter as much comparatively to other stadiums, because it is, if you think about it, obviously structurally it's very, very tall. So that would be something to consider. But again, I'm not sure if they're probably just going to close the roof if it's 67 degrees. I mean, it's Texas. I don't know if they can handle that chilly weather outdoors.
If it is
get a bunch of people from Texas yelling at me.
If it is open, another great
reviews, BJ.
Yeah.
If it is open, another great resource. You want to go to the X app and you want to tweet at Anthony DeBundo. He would be happy to answer any of your wind and weather questions. He will.
Any
will
sport.
go about
any sport.
Yeah. Well, he might not be bored when it's 8:00 tonight and he's got the Phillies playing.
Low key, this is not a joke. He actually loves meteorology. He absolutely loves it. He loves tracking hurricanes, storms, everything. So if you have any storm related questions, just send them to Anthony DeBundo. I'm actually not joking. He actually does love it.
Well, we will have DeBundo tomorrow with Zerillo for a payoff pitch. We will be back tomorrow to preview Game 2 of the NLCS. Merrill Kelly, Aaron Nola, the pitching matchup. So we will discuss what happens tonight in Game 1. We'll touch on Game 2, anything to look ahead to in Game 3 between the Astros and the Rangers. I'm just going to go with their mascot names and not the towns, because I'm just going to get all screwed up throughout the rest of the month. For Zerillo and BJ Cunningham, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. Best of luck. Enjoy the games tonight. And we're joining you every weekday during the postseason. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.